Now, from Pinehurst, North Carolina, here's Dr. Phil.
Today, a shocking revelation in the heartbreaking case of killer Colorado dad Chris Watts. After months of outright lies, Watts has allegedly made a horrifying jailhouse confession to authorities. Last week, the FBI, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the Frederick Police Department interviewed Watts in the prison where he is serving 5 life sentences for murder. They reportedly recorded a 5-hour-long confession where Watts revealed what really happened in his wife and daughter's final moments. The audio of that confession is expected to be released in the media this week as part of the Colorado Open Records Act. Today, before it is released, we are exclusively revealing the devastating details ShanAnn's parents say are on that tape. We've been following this tragic story since it first broke. Here is what has happened so far.
A dark mystery in Frederick, Colorado.
Concern in Frederick right now about a pregnant woman who's missing along with her 2 daughters.
With a grieving father and husband left behind.
I have no idea where they went.
They did a close-in shot. His eyes were neither red nor swollen. This was not a man that had been up all night, worried and crying.
He also gave smiles and laughter that was completely improper when he was talking about Bella. He says she was. That's final. As an investigator, that jumps out to me as he knows that she's already gone.
And watch him licking his lips. Psychologically, he's trying to wipe away everything he's saying.
In a video confession days later, Watts told his father he murdered ShanAnn in a fit of rage, claiming she killed their children.
The husband of a missing pregnant woman is in jail and now charged with her murder.
We have 2 kids. We live in Colorado, and he's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Despite portraying a happy family on social media, text messages between ShanAnn and Watts in the weeks leading up to the murders showed a fractured relationship. Prosecutors say Watts killed his family because of an affair he was having with the co-worker Nicole Kessinger.
Take a look at that picture of her and his wife. Do you notice they look an awful lot alike?
Now the question remains, where are their bodies?
He allegedly told investigators where to find their bodies on a property owned by the company he worked for.
If the senseless deaths of their loved ones weren't enough, the discovery of their bodies was gut-wrenching. ShanAnn's body was found in a shallow grave near the girls' bodies, submerged for days in storage tanks filled with crude oil.
He had to break their bones to get them in there.
And when they tried to lift the girls up, their skin came off.
Christopher Watts has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of tampering with evidence.
His motive was simple, Your Honor. He had a desire for a fresh start. He had a divorce. You don't annihilate your family and throw them away like garbage.
Court sentenced murderer Chris Watts to life in prison for killing his pregnant wife and daughters.
I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. You heartless monster. Prison is too good for you.
When you say, Dr. Phil, who does this? Who does this is a malignant, narcissist psychopath. That's what makes these people so dangerous.
More than 3 months after confessing to murdering his pregnant wife and 2 daughters, Chris Watts is sharing new details about the night he killed them in his home in Frederick. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation says last month in a Wisconsin prison, Watts met with federal and local investigators. According to the CBI, he offered new information about the murders of his pregnant wife, ShanAnn, and daughters Bella and Celeste.
On Monday, we have an exclusive interview with ShanAnn's parents, Sandy and Frank, along with her brother, Frankie Jr. We hear their first reaction to Chris Watts' full confession. I want to focus on loving mother ShanAnn, her unborn son, Nico, and her little daughters, Bella and Celeste. We want to honor their memory. But today, we're speaking to the legal team for ShanAnn's parents, Sandy and Frank Rusek, and revealing the devastating details ShanAnn's mother says she was told about Watts' confession. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about this horrifically tragic case. I've spent a lot of my professional career in deception detection work, and it's really interesting to me that he's now decided to tell the rest of the story. Let me ask you guys first, because you represent ShanAnn's parents, right?
Right.
How are they doing?
The way it was described to me fairly recently by Sandy was that when this all happened, she felt like her and Frankie Jr. were lying on their back in the middle of the ocean. Sandy said it felt like they were being pulled under.
This latest development, I understand that he's now sat down for 5+ hour conversation with multiple agencies all at one time and given a detailed confession of what he says actually took place. Is that your understanding of how this information came to be?
That is. Yeah.
He wants to now talk about what he now says is the truth. I mean, he said what he said was the truth before. This is now his current version of the truth, which may or may not be. What do we know about his motive for doing this? Why he's talking now and why he's saying what he's saying now? I mean, is he trading this for something? Has he gotten jailhouse religion?
We don't believe that he's been offered anything, that there is really anything that could be given to him or traded. So I think it is the jailhouse religion. Our understanding is that he's claiming that he's now remorseful and that he's found God.
Yeah, we've had a few different conversations with him. It's almost eerie how normal some of the conversations go with him, and I don't know exactly what that's about or anything. He's been very forthcoming. It's almost like calling a neighbor.
Right.
Really?
He's
really odd.
Friendly and almost glad to hear from us, which was surprising.
We have on good authority, reliable authority, and directly from talking with parents, specifically Sandy, about what he said during that conversation, correct?
Correct.
Again, I don't want to speculate about where she got the information, but she is quite confident that what she's been told, in fact, is accurate about what he confessed to during that 5 hours.
I think the thing that is probably most important to the family is the nonsense of the idea that ShanAnn harmed her children in any way is put to bed.
And that was the last position that he had taken confession-wise when he said, "Can I talk to my father?" And that's what he said to the father, correct?
Correct.
Our children. When I was downstairs, they came back up. They were gone.
So this was what those parents had to hear when he sat down in that room and went through this charade of, "Can I speak to my father?" and says, "She killed them, she hurt them." And those parents had to sit there with the entire world hearing this son of a bitch say that their daughter murdered her 2 children.
They 100% know their daughter was not ever capable of hurting those kids and would never do that. But now to hear him admit it is important to them. And again, to be clear, they didn't actually hear it from his mouth yet. They have not heard the tape. But to have been told that that is part of what this conversation was about with Chris, I think it is a huge relief to them.
What has she told you he has confessed to now that contradicts that ridiculous lie?
She called me up, we talked about it, and the night in question, ShanAnn came home. She and Chris got into a fight. They had made up, they were getting along quite well. Later on, they got into a fight again. In that fight, he essentially confessed to having an affair, that he wanted a divorce, that it was pretty much over between them. And she had said something to the effect of, well, you're not going to see the kids again. As a consequence of that conversation, he strangled her to death.
They have this argument, and she threatens you're not going to see the children again, so he attacks and kills her. Did Bella witness any of that?
Coming up.
Bella walked in and asked, what are you doing with mommy? And what he said was that mommy is sick and we need to take her to the hospital.
And then Bella's last words.
Bella said, please, Daddy, do not do to me what you just did to Cece.
She was told about Chris Watts' full confession. Sandy's been told they have this argument, and she threatens you're not going to see the children again, so he attacks and kills her. Did Bella witness any of that?
From our understanding, Bella did not witness the actual killing of her mother, ShanAnn. It was not until Chris was in the process of trying to dispose of ShanAnn's body, essentially wrapping her up in the sheet. While he was doing that, Bella walked in and asked, what are you doing with mommy?
She knew something was wrong because...
She's 4. What we've been told, she's quite smart, was quite smart, and knew something likely was up. And what he said was that mommy is sick and we need to take her to the hospital to make her better.
To understand correctly, Bella walks in and sees him manipulating mother's body in a sheet, and then he says, you know, she's sick, something's wrong with us, we got to take her. And so 4-year-old and 3-year-old, of course, are like standing by and watching this go on. And then he backs the truck up and puts the body in it. We have this clip from the neighbor, and this is where they caught the truck being backed up over there. You can see in the background of the spot there, he's walking by. This is at the time that we believe this would have been happening. Is that the speculation that that transfer might have been being made?
That's our belief, correct. When he was talking to the police with the neighbor in his living room watching this video, and his recollection, or I should say his false recounting, was that he was just loading up like a lunch pail, I think, and some thermoses or something.
Yeah, this is him watching that video with the neighbor, and...
Yeah, this is what I was referring to, yeah.
And you can watch his reaction when he sees this. Yeah. He doesn't even want to look at it. Now he's this despair, hands on his head like, oh my God. Body language is, oh my God.
Right, and I think the neighbor picked up on that too, that there was clearly something wrong with the way he was acting.
Yeah, it's like he's not wanting to watch this. He's got his head in his hands. And then when you look at Chris's neighbor, just talking about his radar, that's when what you're talking about here.
All right, appreciate your time. Thanks. Hopefully it comes up. Yeah.
Not after, right?
No.
He's never fishing. He's never rocking back and forth. And he never votes his stuff in and out of the garage ever.
He's now saying what he did was he wrapped her in a sheet, put her in the truck.
On the floorboards, loads up Bella and Celeste into the vehicle and drives 45 minutes or so to where the bodies were eventually found. He takes ShanAnn's body, still in the sheet, and throws it in a dirt pile next to the truck. And he walks over and takes Cece's, Celeste's, favorite blanket and smothers her to death. Then he takes her body, takes it out of the vehicle. At this point, Bella had, I guess, unbuckled herself from the vehicle, and he went back to the vehicle, and at that point, Bella said, please, Daddy, do not do to me what you just did to Cece.
Coming up.
From what we've been told, there was a struggle from Bella. She had fought for her life. I think the worst for those girls on the drive there, if he did load them onto the floorboards, how much were Bella and Cece aware of what might have been happening in those 45 minutes? He walks over and takes Cece's, Celeste's, favorite blanket and smothers her. And at that point, Bella said, "Please, Daddy, do not do to me what you just did to Cece." And then he killed Bella. From what we've been told by Mike O'Rourke in the DA's office, and that was revealed in his sentencing hearing, there was a struggle from Bella, I believe. There were signs that she had fought for her life. And I think of the things that have been hard for the Rusiks to comprehend and to accept in this reality, what happened to Bella in those last moments have been the hardest.
When Sandy was telling you this, what was her demeanor? How painful was this for her?
The hardest thing to hear was that she wonders if in Bella's last moments, seeing as she saw her mother being wrapped up in a sheet, she saw her sister being killed, if some of her last thoughts might have been, where's Grandma, where's Grandpa? I told her, I said, you know, this was not something that somebody could have seen coming.
The thing is, we can't see it coming because our minds don't have the capacity to go to that dark place. I mean, you can't see something you can't conceive of.
Personally, I think the worst for those girls on the drive there, it's a 45-minute drive. If he did load them onto the floorboards like we've been led to believe, obviously the question becomes, how much were Bella and Cece aware of what might have been happening in those 45 minutes on that drive to where their bodies were placed?
I've got a granddaughter and a grandson that, you know, are just starting school and stuff, and those are the images that stick in my mind.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. My daddy, I love you.
And that little voice says, "Daddy, don't do to me what you did to Cece." Seriously, that's beyond psychopathology. That's just absolute, unbridled evil. You know, if there's a crime of passion, it's pretty easy to increase the cognitive load on a person if they're having to work everything out in the moment, as opposed to somebody that has premeditated something, thought it through, know they're going to be where they're going to be. And when you look at his interview, this is when he's being talked to before they found ShanAnn, Bella, and Cece murdered.
Wherever they're at, like, I have no inclination to where they're at right now. Like, I've exhausted, like, every friend that I know of, and every friend that I have has called friends that ShanAnn has that maybe I didn't know about. And it's just like, it's vanished. Like, she's not, like, when I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town. Like, she wasn't here. Kids weren't here. It's like, I have no idea, like, where they went.
You see, at this point, he's distancing himself. He's referring to them as she and they. He's not talking about Bella and Cece and ShanAnn. He uses her name once, but then it's she and they. They're just gone. I mean, this is distancing language. He's using pronouns. He doesn't want to be familiar and talk about them. Do you get the sense that Chris Watts is telling the truth at this point? Does your gut level tell you that?
If you're asking us if, based off of our conversations with him, based off of what we've heard of this recounting, if we believe that it is authentic and accurate in what actually happened that day, I have no reason personally to doubt it. The slight concern we'd have is that the only reason why he might lie about it is if he was protecting somebody.
He wants this to seem like this was about an argument because he was going to leave her. In other words, that it was some sort of a crime of passion, but he may have had a different plan or may have thought this through more than just that particular day.
Right. We had been told that the job site, the bodies were eventually found of ShanAnn and Bella and Celeste, that there were other people supposed to be at the job site that day, and that Chris had called them off. And so there is some speculation, like Tom is saying here, that this might have had some forethought to it.
That's why I wanted to look at that tape of Bella, singing in the back seat. This is a little girl. This isn't a statistic. This is a little girl.
And I think that's what the family really hopes that people can see, is that there's so much of this that happens that we become a little hardened to it and a little immune. And they want people to know, this was our daughter, these were our grandchildren, we loved them, they were real people. And to watch him, it's incredibly scary to see how composed he appears to be, and that he can stand there and lie.
And, look at him now in this freeze frame. I mean, you look at his forehead and around his eyes. There's no stress in this man's face at this point.
No.
And what I'm saying is, if this had not been premeditated and he was having to put all this together in real time, that's when it's cognitive overload. And he's not here, which is why I don't believe this was a crime of passion. And you say that there is some indication that he may have called people off of that job site ahead of time. How does he call the people off? Does he?
From my understanding of it, there were multiple people working that job site that day. There was something that needed to be done at the job site, and so he essentially said, well, no, I got this. It's fine. You don't need to come around. I can handle this.
That wasn't found out until afterwards?
That's our understanding, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's roll this.
It's just earth-shattering. I don't feel like this is even real right now. It's like a nightmare that I just can't wake up from. Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday.
Was going to start kindergarten, which means she can't start now, and he knows she can't start now because she's no longer alive. That's what makes me believe this calling off the workers does comport with what we're seeing. Roll the tape.
I'm just hoping right now that she's somewhere safe, and maybe she's there. But right now it's just like, if she's vanished, like, I want her back so bad. I want those kids back so bad. There's no cameras in the backyard or anything like that, so it's really hard to even suspect anything right now as far as how she could have left. This doesn't seem real at all. It just seems like I'm living in a nightmare and I can't get out of it. I just want them home so bad.
Yeah. And you notice he's shaking his head no while he's saying, I want them home so bad. I want them home so bad. We know the other person that was interviewed was the admitted mistress. Do we know if this mistress has been questioned further by the authorities at all? Why are they there? Why did they go in?
As we've expressed, it's our guess that there was another person they were looking into or investigating that would have required enough time to either determine if charges should be brought or if that was not an avenue to be explored. And we're unsure at this point if that's ongoing investigation or not, so we don't want to go too far down that road.
Well, we know the other person that was interviewed was the admitted mistress. Let's take a look at this.
I think a lot of people are going to probably assume that I was the catalyst for his movement, but I don't think, not me, instructing him, but him deciding to do that because he had me in his life and because he was so, infatuated with what we had going on. But, I try to put the reason to it at the end, why would you wipe out your family to be with me? It doesn't compute. It's how would that go? Hey, my family just disappeared, and you think that I'm gonna just not be concerned about that?
Do we know if this mistress has been questioned further by the authorities at all?
From our understanding, she hasn't, but once again, we're not that close with the investigation. It's the hope of Sandy and Frank that with this tape being out there with the information on it, finally puts to bed any speculation that Chris had found Bella and Celeste dead at the hands of ShanAnn, and then in a fit of rage murdered ShanAnn, that these tapes put to rest any of that kind of speculation, and that ShanAnn's memory can be put to rest as a loving mother and a caring wife.
As painful as it is for Sandy and Frank to hear this horrific confession, are they glad to hear the facts so it does lay to rest any speculation about ShanAnn?
I think it might take some time, really, for them to see it as a silver lining. Right now, I think it's mostly painful.
Just pain.
Just pain. But I would think that it's helpful for them to have answers to questions that otherwise they would ask themselves forever. But they'll never understand, and none of us will, the real question of why does somebody do this? This makes no sense to anyone. If you're unhappy in your marriage and you're having problems, that you get a divorce and you move on. You don't kill your family and take them out like they're garbage. Shoving your children in oil barrels and just the violent nature of the crime, it can't really be explained why he would have done this.
A lot of this coming out has made Sandy quite angry, I think. She's feeling a lot of that. Obviously, it's difficult because she's having to process these emotions as they're coming in rather than being 2, 3, 4, 5 months apart in a longer trial. They're coming at her every 2, 3 weeks. That the family made the choice, whether you believe it's the correct one or not, to not pursue the death penalty. If it were me, I don't know how that would sit with me, knowing that she didn't know the full story.
And that might very well have changed the position she took, what she advocated for at the time.
All I can tell you is what I might do. It would definitely have changed the calculus for me.
I know they're very strong Catholics and very devout, and I think they felt that it wasn't appropriate for them to advocate for the taking of Chris's life, even though he took their daughter and grandchildren's lives, that they didn't want to be in that position of being the ones to make that call. And they felt that the DA offering Chris a chance to not be charged with the death penalty was appropriate and something that they supported clearly.
Coming up.
The whole time he's having that conversation, he's been to the site, he's killed Cece, killed Bella, he's already killed her. Really? Your wife leaves with your children going to a friend and you don't know which one? Does she have 140 friends? I mean, this is falling apart from the minute he opens his mouth.
Not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. What must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought is their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters.
I mean, if his admission is true, then everything we look at right here in this house tour, they're dead and gone.
How long have you guys been married? So, been together 8 years, married 6 this year. Yeah. And this is very unusual behavior.
What's this door right here go to? Locked. Do you have a key for it?
Locked. Get here and just play with that. So you normally keep it locked? Yeah, because they would go in there and they'd be in soap. Like last time we had Vaseline everywhere. So that was not fun. So does she normally make the beds, the kids' beds? No.
Did you tell your mother-in-law that she went to a friend's today?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What friend?
Supposed to a friend's house, so that's all I knew.
Who was she supposed to go to?
That's all she told me. Said she's going to a friend's house to take the kids.
When did she tell you that?
This morning, when we talked, 5 o'clock.
Whole time he's having that conversation, he's been to the site, he's killed Cece, he's killed Bella, he's already killed her, and he's standing there rocking back and forth. It's, yeah, Absolutely unbelievable. It appears to me that Chris Watts changed in a significant way from the time they got married to the time he did these things. You know, he lost the weight. He seemed to become very narcissistic. Things changed, and he lost himself. He's got 3 life sentences and 84 years to reflect on that. The thing I always found out about these kind of people is they're narcissistic. And with a narcissist, they never challenge their story. And then the first time somebody pushes back, they fold like a pup tent in a windstorm. And that's where you see him on the driveway, rocking back and forth, and he's got that deer in the headlights look. And he's got no game, he's got no story, he's got nothing. And he's laughing when there's incongruency between his emotions and his story. And said she went to a friend's. What friend? I don't know. Really? Your wife leaves with your children going to a friend and you don't know which one? Does she have 140 friends? What are you talking about? That's a lie on its face. I mean, this is falling apart from the minute he opens his mouth. That's why this guy was caught as fast as he was. This was a malignant narcissist, and those are the ones that slip under the radar and do their damage. He's sick, he's demented, he's off the street where he should be, he never should be there. Let's talk about the fact that he has now folded enough to make it clear that ShanAnn was a good and loving mother, had not one thing to do with this, and let's honor her and let's honor those children. So that's what's remembered, and that's the message we want to leave with America.
Coming up.
Bella and Cece were pretty close.
Thank you, Nana, Papa.
Cindy has said when this tape comes out, she's going to be devastated. Bella and Cece were pretty close, right? From everything we understand.
That's our understanding, yeah.
Close in age and close as sisters.
Say thank you, Nana Papa.
Thank you, Nana, Papa.
Say we love it.
I love it.
I mean, there's a plethora of videos and tapes and pictures of Bella and Celeste, just like the one you showed, laughing and smiling and playing while they were still alive.
Has this taken a toll on Sandy and Frank as a couple, or has it brought them closer together?
Sandy and Frank, they took some time, they processed it, but they processed it together. They did find strength and comfort in each other through this process.
They seem to have a really strong marriage, and that they lean on each other a lot. I think that they need each other at this point a lot, and that they're lucky to have each other.
Sandy has said, even though she has been briefed on the things that he said in this confession, when this tape comes out, and it's going to be unavoidable, she said she's going to be devastated by this, and she wants some guidance from me on how do I handle this. My hope is that we can do that in a way that is respectful. I absolutely refuse to allow my platform to be used to sensationalize Chris Watts as opposed to honoring ShanAnn, Bella, Cece, and Nico, and respecting this family.
The one thing that springs to mind for me, Chris said kind of once he got started, he couldn't stop. To talk to her about that as somebody who knows a bit about how sick minds work, I think that would be good to talk to her about, because I don't think that she buys it, but I think it does bother her.
In the final analysis, we need to use this to honor this family and honor this mother, and that's my commitment. That's what we're going to do.
Coming up, a preview of ShanAnn's family's exclusive interview.
To hear my granddaughter beg for her life, yeah, it's pretty rough.
Brother Frankie Jr. in an emotional exclusive. Here's a preview.
Monday in a Dr. Phil exclusive.
To hear my granddaughter beg for her life, yeah, it's pretty rough.
ShanAnn Watts' parents and brother.
Our daughter watched her husband kill her.
The baby was alive when her life was taken.
Can I give the baby a hug?
So we have 3 children murdered here, not 2.
Their reaction to the chilling details.
Took Celeste's Yankee blanket and smothered her in front of Belle.
You had a real strong connection as a grandmother.
Thank you, Mama, Papa.
Absolutely.
I'm glad this is going to shut up all the people that are still saying ShanAnn did it.
You took a position to not support the death penalty. Knowing what you now know, what would you say to Chris Watts?
That's Monday.
They say these revelations have completely devastated them, but no matter what, they want to be strong and continue to honor the lives of daughter and grandchildren. Thanks for watching, and before we say goodbye, we want to take a few minutes to remember the lives of ShanAnn, Nico, Bella, and Celeste, who were taken from us far too soon.
My daughter and my grandchildren, they had beautiful lives. They loved each other. Beautiful, yes, inside and out.
Spend all your time waiting for that second chance, for a break that would make it okay.
It's on here.
There's some reason to feel not good enough, and it's hard at the end of the day. I need some distraction. Oh, beautiful release. Memories seep from my veins. Let me be empty. Oh, weightless, and maybe I'll find some peace tonight.
We say thank you, Papa.
Thank you, Papa.